Hello and welcome to What Now with Anna and Eric. I am Anna.
I am Eric.
And I would like to start out this podcast by pointing out what I think is one of the most important facts ever to be revealed on this video podcast that we've been doing. And this is what it is. So a number of weeks ago, I think this was even before we started with video, Eric confessed on the podcast that he never grows a beard because his beard hair is so blonde that nothing would come of it. Like, it just wouldn't be a thing. And yet, let's take a moment for those of you watching right now.
You can't see it. It's
to notice.
It's behind the thing. I can't really hear
Eric has a mustache and a beard.
I do not have a beard.
It's a beard.
No.
It is a beard.
No.
I think when you have hair on your chin, that is the very definition of a beard.
Yeah, I don't know.
It is like thick.
It's happening.
You
There's
can
something
see
happening.
it. It's real.
Yep.
It looks really nice for those of you listening.
I'm distinguished.
He is very. Oh yes, he's very distinguished.
Do you know? I do not sound. Have I turned down my own voice? I don't feel as loud as I usually do. It's nice.
Is it nice? I was going to turn you up.
Yeah, whatever.
Wow, your headphone volume is pretty high too.
Yeah, I think it's...
You know what's funny though? Every time I go to edit, because on the board, here, on the board, you are always lower than me, but whenever I go to edit it, I always have to multiply my own voice by at least 4 times.
I think it's just another way that you're phasing me out. Just slowly turn down the volume.
So, thank you for tuning in to What Now with Anna and Eric, where we are going to hit on some tough topics of spiritual growth here this morning. So look forward to that.
Spiritual growth is a puzzle, and I'm a little bit muddled. What does discipleship even mean? What now? What now?
It's very difficult to only dance with your hands. I would just like to throw that out there.
It is not.
It is.
No, you just need to work harder.
That's rude. Okay, so Mr. Eric Anderson.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me for a moment about what has been occurring in, let's say, the last 7 days?
7 days.
2 days is 48 hours. 48 times 2 is 80, 96, plus another 48 hours. That's too much math. Tell me about what's been happening.
The last week of my life. Oh. You know what? Are you still trying to do the math?
Now I really want to know.
Do you know they put calculators on phones now?
And yet,
let's try it.
Let's try it.
All right. So what do we want?
Far away.
So 24 times 7.
Yeah.
168 hours.
You know what? I actually looked this up for some reason recently. Oh, it was our discussion that we had. You were asking me how many hours were in a day, how many hours were in a week, and I calculated it on my fancy dancy calculator.
There you go.
Sorry. Okay, so tell me about the last 168 hours of your life.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind.
A whirlwind.
Whirlwind? A whirlwind. A whirlwind.
A world filled with wind. I don't know what that means, but it sounds great.
Not a lot of sleep.
Is this like an alternate planet, maybe?
Yep, a whirlwind.
A whirlwind.
We gained an hour.
Oh,
Daylight savings time. That's pretty exciting.
Boom.
I'm pretty sure that's the most exciting thing that's happened.
You know, this is the hardest. Daylight savings time, I just feel like there's no good in between, because you either get, so one way you sleep in, right? But then it's also dark earlier, so bummer. And then the other way, more light, but then you have to wake up an hour earlier than usual.
Yeah, I'm not a huge dark this early fan.
Same.
It's really like I feel like I just need to go to bed.
Yeah, and it's like 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, bedtime.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
I can't imagine living in Alaska where it's like dark for months.
But it's also light for months.
That's also weird.
So I'm just saying. So See,
I might like that. I might
that's-
like so if
that's
you
how
like
we
live
see
up
things.
there for 6 months of
Yeah.
light, and then you move to Antarctica for another 6 months
But,
of
yeah,
light. That's
so-
how that would work, right?
But I just think this is more speaks to us as people, me and you. I see it as, wow, there's a whole lot of months of light. And you're like, oh, there's months of darkness. Just saying.
Does this speak to,
Yep.
does this speak to
You're
my
like,
personality?
oh,
Am I that person?
there's so much
I'm
darkness.
the darkness person?
Yep.
I don't know how to
But hey,
respond.
it's all right. I'm the light person, so.
Okay,
that's
so
why-
daylight saving times happened
That
in
happened.
this whirlwind
This
that is
whirlwind.
happening.
You know what? Sometimes you don't use your words right.
It's okay.
I do it a lot.
Okay.
A whirlwind. Whirlwind.
Is that all you have to say?
Yeah.
There's nothing else?
I got nothing.
All
No,
right.
I cleaned out the garage, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
So our garage is cleaned out.
That's nice.
Yeah.
All right. Can I
Go
share
for
something
it. Oh,
fun?
you know what? I cannot. Well, this is. You know
Okay.
what? I'm just gonna buckle my
So,
seatbelt for this ride.
Eric challenged me to binge watch the Great British Baking Show.
And
And so this morning I accidentally woke up early. Like earlier. And I sort of watched / fast forwarded through the first episode of one of the
What?
seasons.
why would you fast forward?
Because I realized that I had actually seen that episode before, but I didn't really remember how it
Wait.
ended. And then I realized that people were being eliminated. And then I was like, oh, but I have like, you know, the person you're rooting for. I was rooting for the teenager because student ministry,
Did you watch
And
the
then-
first season?
sort of. So then what I did was
If you spoil who won the first season, I will come across.
then I switched to the very last episode of
No.
the first season.
If you tell me anything that
And I
happened,
watched that. Wait, okay, let me clarify though, because when you look it up, it doesn't say season; it says collection, and then it says 7 through 1. Like it starts at collection 7, and then goes down to collection 1. This was a Netflix. I was like, I don't really
Anyway.
understand this. So I watched
Well-
collection 1,
Well,
and so
I
I
have-
watched / fast forwarded the last episode. Really, just went to the end, figured out who won, and it was exactly who I thought was gonna win. I was like, dude,
I have my
I'm a
top
baking
3 right
champion.
now. I have my top 3 right now, and so
top 3 winners.
no, the top 3 that I would like to see win.
All right.
And
Wait,
so
I thought you watched all of
I
these.
am watching.
You made it sound like you had watched all of the Great British Bakings.
No, I'm into it. I'm into it. Like, it is phenomenal. Like, British people, at least British bakers, are some of the nicest people in the world. Like, they make some pretty big mistakes, and they're like, oh, it's okay. It's a biscuit.
I don't know about that accent.
Yeah.
I feel like you missed it a little bit. No? You
No.
sound fine? Okay.
They're like, oh,
It's a biscuit? Or is it a biscuit?
it's a cracker.
Or is it a cracker?
And that's,
the
there's
great
where,
disappointment.
there's where I
The
lost
great British
Yep.
disappointment.
And that's where my wife stopped watching the Great British Baking Show with me.
So anyways, so when they announced the winner, who was
Yeah.
of course I
Yes.
just want to allude to this.
I don't even know how
But
they announced the winner.
I knew
like,
exactly who it was when I watched episode 1. I'm like, that's the person who's
Well,
going to win.
I mean,
Fast forwarded, well, skipped all the in between stuff, and who won? Rate who I thought it was.
I mean, I just love it. Like, there are 3 different competitions inside of the episode, and it's not like the other ones where they get to go home, they get to practice, they come back the next weekend, they're back in the tent, they ate 3 more different things. It's bread baking and
Crackers.
crackers and sponge cake. You know what?
It could have been better.
Caramel.
I mean, I wasn't really like super thrilled about it, but
Listen, it's just nice. It's just nice. It's soothing. You know,
Soothing.
really, I don't know.
Like
the
sweet music.
yeah, I mean, look at it. The music that goes along with it, the accents, the countryside, they're in a tent.
oh, I did like the foliage, the park.
Yeah.
I was very interested in where it was occurring, just not necessarily what was occurring,
Well,
but
I'm telling you.
It's nice.
It is.
so I
it's-
was watching this cartoon before this.
Bleh.
And I would like to point out a fact. So I think that since you challenged me to watch the Great British Baking Show, and I did technically watch part of it,
Bleh.
then I can challenge you to watch My Little Pony.
Bleh.
And you have to
Bleh.
watch the first episode.
Like, I don't even think I can get my 8-year-old daughter to
And
watch
that-
My Little Pony. Like, I can't even do that.
It's just so good.
Bleh.
Gets me. There's an entire episode about secondary characters that is phenomenal. tell you, as a writer, I'm just like, I am behind that show. It's good.
Ponies.
It is
Who
good.
would've known?
It is good. Okay, so yeah, that's
There you go.
That's what I wanted to share today. Other things have been happening, but that was my big one.
And just turn it on. I have a love of baking now. I want to start baking
Yeah, that's
because of
nice.
that show. It's inspired me.
Oh, okay. Slight side story.
All right.
Before we get into our
Side step.
Sunday recap. This is so one day, right? Eric's like, okay, we need to meet to talk about your employee review because technically he's like my boss. And so we have this day, and then he's like, oh, I'm bringing cookies because my wife made some cookies. Me and Amy had talked about her cookies before. And so I was talking to my brother. I was like, yeah, and we're meeting for a review. He's bringing cookies. It's great. And my brother James goes, I'm pretty sure those are you're going to get fired cookies. Like consolation. So it concerns me that you want to start baking because then what if you just start making like, oh, what
Did you get
what
fired?
would these biscuits be for?
Did you
Maybe
get
these
fired?
are you get fired biscuits.
But
I did
did you?
not. I
So
didn't
see,
get
look
fired,
it.
But
You don't know when
it's
it's
a little
coming.
misleading.
Any day now.
Any day now is going to be
I would do it live.
biscuits.
I would do it live on the podcast, but then you just edit it out and say, nope, that never happened.
That never happened. Look at that timestamp. I can work some
No.
magic with the
No,
electronics.
I'm just trying to lead you in such a way that one day you can fire me. That's
don't
what it
think
is.
that's how
Yep.
that works.
Yep. You're going to be so great at what you're doing that you're going to be in charge of me, and then you'll be like, Psh, what do I need him for? You gone.
You go. So let's go into our Sunday recap.
Yeah, hit it.
Recap.
Yeah. With Anime Martin. Recap.
Actually, that was very good.
I know.
No, that was nice.
No, I know. I know. So
Thanks.
hit it. So
Keep that one.
Yeah.
I think that we
Don't-
should.
don't screw
I
it
should
up.
have.
You
I did
should.
record it. I was like, I should have recorded it. I hope we're recording. It would be very bad if we were not. So, Sunday.
Wait, do you just think we sit in this room talking into this microphones for the fun of it?
Eric doesn't know this, but I don't record anything.
This goes nowhere.
This goes nowhere.
This goes nowhere.
So,
there's
anyways,
so many better ways to hang out with me.
I just do this so you won't fire me because I know you won't do it on the podcast.
I should have recorded that.
Sunday recap.
Yep,
So we
hit
talked
it.
about hypocrisy. Ooh, I was gonna say hippos.
We talked
We
about
talked
hip hop and hippos. Hip hop hippos.
Hip hop hippos and hypocrites. Oh my gosh, that would have been such a great title. Hip hop hippos and hypocrites.
Oh,
Why didn't nobody come up with that marketing? Could have been great. Could
Man.
have been beautiful.
I just really want to see.
And we could have brought in a live hippo.
Because I mean,
Actually, those are very dangerous.
there were ballerina hippos in Fantasia, but
That's true.
hip hop hippos? Like if they ever listen, Disney, call me. If you ever want to do a remake of Fantasia,
Hip-hop
please
hippos.
hip hop hippos. Please just go with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
This was so
Disney
we talked
Plus.
about hip hop hippos and hypocrites. And
which one do we want to talk about?
let's start with the hypocrites and then we'll
All right,
branch.
then we'll
to
see
the
where
others.
we go.
So kind of just a short summary. We really just talked about the fact that hypocrites, or the very definition of hypocrisy, is not acting in the way that we believe. But sometimes people who we think, oh wow, those people are hypocrites, they're really just not mature in their faith. Like on this podcast of like what now, like the next steps of spiritual growth, it's kind of like saying, hey, I just started on my spiritual journey and I'm screwing up. Well, some people would maybe call you a hypocrite,
Yeah.
but you're really not a hypocrite. You just don't know yet.
And I'd be like, I'd be on my spiritual journey for years, and I'm still screwing it up. So
Still, yeah. There are many things that I don't know. Actually, was talking to somebody recently where I was like, I just sort of expect that there's always something that I'm getting wrong. And I don't know what it is yet, but it's something. Because God is always bringing stuff up to me. I'm
6
always
months of
finding things
darkness.
to change. 6 months of darkness. That should be a movie. The sequel to Hip Hop Hippos and Hypocrites.
You know
6
what?
months of darkness.
there is actually a movie.
Is it really called a movie? 6 months of
No,
darkness?
it's not 6 Months of Darkness. It's a vampire movie about.
And this is
Just-
relational vampires. It's all connected. Man. The Bible applies to everything, people. Hashtag. Oh, that goes first. Hashtag. Hashtag. This is my. Hashtag.
no.
The Bible applies
Oh,
to
no.
everything. I'm making the motion. Is that how you make it with your finger?
If you're listening and you're not watching, please just feel free to try to do a hashtag with just 2 fingers. No crossover, just 2 fingers.
People
Just try
know.
it.
People know what that means. So that's one thing. Another thing is the Bible tells us that we should keep each other accountable as Christians, so that if we are sinning, then we are called to bring accountability to one another.
I don't know what passage it is, but I believe it goes, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
You know, I'm pretty sure you've actually brought up, quote unquote, this passage before. It's not
I
real,
think
people.
it's the
not
hip hop
real.
hippos.
The hip hop hippos. Is that where it came from?
Yep. Check
so
yourself
good.
before, and check others before they wreck themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
All right.
And the last point was
Yes.
we can be hypocrites. I mean, Eric has already admitted to his own hypocrisy.
I did?
Didn't you?
I never admit to being wrong. Ever.
Oh, my bad. Awkward.
Yeah.
Well, I can be a
Stop it.
hypocrite,
No,
so you're welcome.
You can.
That's true.
That is truth. Me,
So-
not so much.
So, yes. However, so we've talked about hip hop, and oh, darn, I did it wrong.
Oh, no.
Hip hop, hippos, and hypocrites.
Yes.
But we're actually going to branch off in a different direction here today. So for those of you excited to talk about hypocrisy or hip hop or hippos,
What if
number
there was
one,
like a group of hip hop hippos that were just hypocritical about everybody? I would watch that show. Listen, they just walked around just
wouldn't that be great?
like just, oh, we believe this thing, but look at us.
Ooh,
Oh
we're
yeah,
so cool.
oh, hippos in the
'Cause we can
water.
do hip-hop.
We're up on land.
Okay, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Hippos I could do hip hop would be very impressive. And
Oh.
I would.
It would
I'd
be
like,
sweet.
you're great. You're great.
You're great hippos.
You are great hippos. I'm so
All
proud
right.
of you.
So, what different direction are we going in?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Eric's second favorite topic today.
Fitness,
Not that one.
self-assessment,
Nope.
self-realization.
No.
Oh, British baking shows.
No.
Man,
I honestly don't think you're going to guess it, even
we
though
are
you really
so far
should.
down the list. Students.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yeah.
On a podcast?
Yeah.
About students?
For real.
The next generation?
I know, it's
Stop
crazy.
it.
It's crazy.
Oh,
I'm
man.
so excited, though.
It's like Christmas.
It's like Christmas
Yep.
early. Oh, by the way, Eric does not believe in
No.
Christmas before Thanksgiving. Side fact.
Yeah. So it's like Halloween. Like I came up to your door and I'm like, ding dong, trick or treat. You're like, here. It's a treat. Students.
Halloween is behind us, Eric. You disgust me.
So it's like I
You
showed
don't,
up to
but-
your door and you're like, Happy Thanksgiving. What are you
Yes.
thankful for?
Like that.
And I'm like, I don't know. And you're like, be thankful for students. Here you
Boom.
go.
Here you go.
There you go.
Hashtag
Hashtag.
students.
Hashtag students.
With
All
2
right.
fingers.
I'm excited where this is going. I might settle in for this. I might pay attention.
Yeah, so
Watch out.
here is a question.
Uh-oh.
Next steps. What now? Spiritual growth. How does that apply to students? Well, more importantly, if you are a student, obviously it applies to you. Just, grow spiritually. But how does students apply to everybody else? Number one, and I think that Eric has a lot to say about this, what can we do for students? How are we called to speak into the next generation? Whoever you are. People in all different places. And maybe you're here and you're like, oh, that's not me. I'm not called to student ministry.
Stay
delete,
tuned.
delete. You can't really delete this video. Pause now, because then
Keep
you're
going.
playing it again.
Yeah. You stick
Scroll
with it.
down.
Stay with us.
Yeah.
Stay with us.
Stay with us, because there is something that does apply to you biblically.
All right.
So, Eric,
Yep.
start us off. What, in the sense of spiritual growth, or really, how does students apply to everybody? Because some people are listening and are like, psh, yeah, really, students applies to everybody.
So, as ridiculous as it might sound, these are the people, these students are the people that are going to be running this world one day. If they're not running it already, they are running it one day. And so if you are listening to this, I don't care if you are a student yourself, or if you're a grandparent, or if you don't have any kids, if you're an aunt or uncle, or you're a friend, whatever you are, whatever stage of life, the question is, are you intentionally investing in somebody college age or younger?
Yes.
And if the answer is no, why not?
No.
Why not?
I just had to say
Because
that.
every single person, and so if you're a college age kid right now, because I'm old,
Yeah.
or you're a high schooler, are you investing in somebody younger? So if you're college, are you investing in somebody who is in high school or middle school? If you're in high school, are you investing in a middle schooler or maybe an elementary schooler? Go on down the line. But if you're out of college, if you're in your late 20s, your early 30s, or beyond, 40s, 50s, 60s, 100s, I don't care where you're at, is there somebody in that mid to early 20s or younger that you are investing in, you're noticing, and you're getting to know, and you're help mentoring them and sharing your faith with?
Yeah. And here's a thought, too, as far as, like, if somebody was like, well, I don't really like kids. I don't really like
Me neither.
teenagers."
Wait, I mean,
You should. You should like them. Like, what do you do if you're thinking, man? Well, I don't know about this whole investing in a teenager, like, 1-to-1 sort of thing. Well, maybe that's not exactly what God has called you to do. There are many different other opportunities to help for students and children. But really what I think it ultimately comes down to, and this was something that we had talked about at the Orange Conference we brought up before, but everybody needs to be seen by somebody. Everybody needs to be seen by somebody. And for us as adults, I'm an adult. I don't know why that weirds me out, but
it's that hat.
It's the
That
hat
throws
that's throwing
you.
me. But all of us adults should be seeing somebody in the next generation, because that can be very powerful. You know what's breaks my heart all the time is when the news or different articles, they're always talking about the statistical rise of, like, suicide and bullying and all of this crap that honestly students and even elementary schoolers are facing nowadays. It is insane. It is, like, crazy insane. And one of the most powerful things that we can do for the next generation is not even necessarily showing up on a Sunday night. We would love for you to do that, but is not even necessarily showing up on a Sunday night and, like, leading a group or something, but it is seeing one kid. Just one kid.
Well, that's what if you're saying, oh, bleh, I don't like high schoolers. Bleh, I don't like middle schoolers. I can't stand kids. Like, why would I want to do that? I can't stand them. Then how many of them do you really know? I mean, if that's the case, if you have that attitude towards it, have you really taken the time to get to know a high schooler or get to know a college student or get to know a middle schooler to really hear what they're going through, why they're acting the way they're acting, why they're thinking the way they're thinking, whatever it is? And it's not a matter of going in there saying, I'm going to change them, I'm going to show them, but it's just giving them someone that will listen to them. And then from there, how can you help make them a better person? How can you give them options that are better than the really horrible options that the world is giving them?
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. I just think I really stand by it. If you are an adult and you do not have somebody, and I would even go as far as, hey, if you're a college age student and above, so if you're 20s and above, 19 and above, is there somebody under the age of 18 that you are investing in, that you are noticing, that you are seeing, that you are asking how they're doing, that you're knowing what their family dynamic is, what their home life's like, what their school life is like, all of that stuff? Just one.
Yeah. Something that was really cool that happened, it was back when I lived in Alpena.
Ooh.
So back in the day. I had
All
this...
tens of those students that are there.
Rude. I had this friend who said they had read a book about, I don't even remember what the book was or whatever, but they had said, man, I was reading this book and the author said that he didn't have a dad, and this guy who was in his church just said, hey, do you want to just come and like have a meal with me once a week or something and just talk and just hang out? And so he would go and he would meet up with this guy. I think they would like go to a restaurant or something like that. And he would just like ask him like, what's going on? How's your life? And they would just hang out with wherever they were. And the author of the book was like, that right there, that changed my life. It totally changed his life. And so my brother was like, man, I want to do that. I want to be that person for somebody. And so he went, and there was this family in our church, which was a single mom with a little boy and a little girl. And so he went up to the single mom, and he's like, hey, do you mind if I just, me and my brother go fishing sometimes? Would you mind if we just took your little boy and just took him fishing like once a week and just hung out? And the mom's like, yeah, sure, that would be cool. And so he would go with this little boy, and they would go fishing once a week. And the mom said it was crazy what a difference it made in this kid's life, who didn't have a dad, but had this adult who was just seeing him and hanging out with him. And that was what really made the difference. Like, they didn't even really talk about anything deep.
Yeah.
They just hung out.
Well, and that's, I think, it could be weird if we have a just onslaught of adults going up to kids being like, hey, you want to hang out? Hey, you want to hang out? It might be
don't
weird.
do that.
But
don't be weird.
But if you understand that there's a kid out there and there's groups of parents out there, and introducing yourself to the parents, talking to the parents, maybe they're friends of yours, maybe they're people in the same circle, maybe it's
somebody you're related to.
Yeah, and you just have a conversation, because the more and more influencers, positive influencers that these kids have in their life, the better. So it's not like you're coming in and saying, wow, mom, dad, or just mom, whatever it looks like, you're not doing a good enough job. I am going to come in and I am going to mentor your kid and I'm going to do a better job. It's not like that. It's like, how can I come alongside of you to help give this student, give your son or your daughter another influencer to help do the things that you're trying to do. You're already trying to be the best parent you possibly can, but you are only one person, or you are only a couple. I want to help come alongside of you, and I want to help make that situation better, because if you look at research and studies, and it's the sticky faith model, is each student should have 5 adults in their life that are influencing them in a positive way. Can you be one of those people?
Yeah. And it does, again, it looks different for everybody. What we have seen here at Venture is we have seen adults who, they have they've had a student who serves on the same team as them.
Yeah.
And so what that adult has done is they went and they scholarshiped a student for camp that they served with on the same team. So not only were they mentoring them on this serving team, basically here at church, but then they also scholarshiped them to camp. And from seeing what a huge difference that camp made in that kid's life, it was crazy. It was pretty astounding. And there are so many different ways to affect the next generation. And it's so powerful too.
Yeah, and it's something simple as that. What is something that kind of is at the forefront of all of our minds is money. Money is a huge thing for a lot of people, and for that simple act of I don't know if I want to deal with this, but that kid's been doing a lot of good things. You know what? I'm going to make sure I buy them a Bible, or I'm going to make sure I help them with camp, or I'm going to see what their needs are, and maybe I'm going to help meet their needs. Those kids see that, and they're like, "What? This person wants to invest in me? I'm nobody. Who am I?" And this person sees me enough to want to invest in me. That's huge. So I'm not saying, listen, if you want to send all the kids to camp, go for it. But I'm not saying this is not a money grab, but I'm just saying what are the littlest ways or the biggest ways you can impact a student's life? There's the whole gambit of it.
So this is actually, I hadn't even been thinking about this,
Whoa.
But last night I was somehow spiraled on YouTube. That happens all the time. But I ended up watching The golden buzzers of 2019 on
America's Got Talent?
Yes, America's Got Talent. And one of them was, and I'm sure maybe everybody's seen this. I'm a slow roller when it comes to pop culture.
Slow roller, yes.
One of the contestants was this kid. I think he was maybe 12 or something. And he sings this song, and he's like so excited. He wants to go on Broadway. One of the judges was on Broadway. I'm fairly certain. It was hard to read the situation. But he sings this song, and then the judge says, man, you're doing, I'm like the judge that he admired basically was like, man, you are amazing. That is so good. The kid starts crying. And she hits the golden buzzer, and, it's like the big, intense moment. But what I thought was really cool was then Simon Cowell hugs the other judge, and he says, you have no idea what that is going to do for him. Like, that was a good call. That was a good call. And I was just kind of, like, the rest of it was, yeah, you get excited. But I was very struck by that moment because I was like, yeah, like, you don't know what that's going to do for that kid's life because you spoke into them and you saw them for that one moment.
Yep.
Like, That's crazy. What an impact that one moment is going to have.
Sub point, if you do watch America's Got Talent, Simon Cowell, you might think, oh, I know him from American Idol. He was the mean judge. Mm-hmm. Watch him on America's Got Talent. He's so
nice.
He loves kids.
He does.
And dogs.
And down and out people.
If you have a kid that can do a show with dogs, you will win that whole show. He will not let you lose that show.
He will golden buzzer you right through.
Oh man, I'm telling you what, a kid gets on the stage or a dog gets on the stage and he will say nothing but great things.
Yeah.
He sees the next generation.
He does actually.
Yeah.
He very much sees the next generation.
So be like Simon Cowell.
Be like Simon Cowell. But like the Americans, America's Got Talent version, not the other version.
No. Don't be that
guy. Be kind to people. Don't judge them.
All right. So, yep.
Yeah. So see into the next generation. And if you are here and you're still on the fence and you're like, man, hey, you're the student ministry director and he's the student ministry director and I'm in student ministry and you're all geeked about students, but I'm not really geeked about students.
Come
and I just don't think this is free. Well, sure. Come talk to us. Eric can be very convincing.
Yes, I will buy you coffee. We'll meet up. We'll have a conversation, and we will talk through ways that you can invest in the next generation.
But as another part of that, something that was brought up at a global leadership a number of years ago.
Ooh.
It was back in the day.
Showing your age.
One
Anna.
of the
showing your age.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But one of the speakers did this whole talk. And they were talking about, man, I will go to specific places. Like, I will go on mission trips or I will go to these other churches to remind myself why I do what I do is important. Like, they said, I will deliberately go and hang out with people who are down and out. So I then have this passion built up in me to reach out to those people. And really, this can apply anywhere. Let me tell you, spiritual growth-wise, if we're talking about what now, especially when it comes to serving, if you're like, man, I just don't feel like serving, I don't have any passion for it, go hang out with people who need God and who need help, and you will get the passion. Like, you will get the passion when you see the state that people are in. And that applies to student ministry, too. Kind of like, Eric, what you brought up. Like, are you hanging out with students? Are you around them? Have you really looked at them and seen some of the stuff that kids are dealing with? Because honestly, I've been hanging out with students most of my life, and I am still shocked sometimes at some of the stuff that kids are going through. It's insane. It's crazy.
The atmosphere for the next generation is a tough one. The social media, the everything is accepted, everything is okay.
Oh yeah,
mentality. Culture is just, it's beating them down. But on the other hand, the upside and the potential for the next generation with technology, with opportunities, with influence, all of that is on the huge upside too. So it's this constant battle of, man, culture can break you, but if somebody sees that potential and somebody invests in it and somebody pushes these students to really step up and do the best they possibly can, they can be game changers.
Yeah. Like crazy.
Fired up.
I mean, even some of the students that we've seen at Venture are already game changers.
Truth. There's world changers out there. I'm not going to name drop because, you know what? I don't want anybody to feel left out, because I truly believe that every student that walks into Venture is hopefully, our goal is making sure that every single student that steps into Venture is seen by an adult,
Yeah.
is cared about by an adult, and then lives out the best possible life they can live out.
Mm-hmm.
That's our
Students
goal.
are awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome. Is that where you were going with that? Because that's immediately where I went to. Okay, good.
Set it up
Lego
for ya.
Movie. Okay, so
Yeah.
then here's how I kind of want to wrap up this student discussion. So
Let's put a
how
bow
can
on
we
it.
see in students? How can we breathe into them? Like, what can we do for the next generation? Because ultimately, Jesus says, love one another. He doesn't say only love your peers.
Get a van, drive around, and ask students to... No, that's probably...
Never do
Nope.
that. Never do that. Never do that.
Well...
Do it within the appropriateness of boundaries.
True.
Always with the boundaries. Always with the boundaries. But don't let the boundaries stop you from doing anything. When I say that, what I mean is...
Might need to edit this one.
What I mean is if you aren't engaging with students because it just seems too hard, don't let that stop you.
There you go.
That's what I meant by that.
Some views and opinions spoken on this podcast are not condoned by Venture Youth or its employees.
Boundaries are important.
But don't let that stop you.
I feel like I should
Yeah.
be banned. Fire me.
No, we just have to have an offline
clarified.
discussion.
I
We
clarified.
just have to have a discussion offline.
Okay, so so kids are actually really smart.
Yeah.
What a great answer that
You know. There's some
We-
good ones out there.
We can really learn from kids, and we can learn from students. And you know, I think for me, some of the more powerful moments of being a teenager was when I said something and people actually took me seriously. It was almost shocking. Like, I was like, whoa. Like, I mean, I did actually think that was right, but I didn't think you would think that was right, you know? And in its own sense, that can really speak into a kid's life, to have basically somebody listen to them and say, wow, like, that's actually a really good point. Or, you know, that actually means something. And to some extent, I think there are some kids who are smarter than some adults.
Probably most of them are smarter than me.
A lot of them are smarter than me. I usually have no idea what they're
Yeah.
talking about. But it can be so important, really, for us. And we talked about this a while ago. Listening to advice, you know, and how really you can get advice from anywhere, even people that you don't like. I have found that, unfortunately, to be true. But kids can give great advice, too.
Yeah.
Kids are very smart. And listening to them can make a huge difference in their lives. And to give them a platform to say something.
There you go. They want to be heard. They're
They do.
in most students, their relationships with adults are do what you're told, do what you're supposed to be doing, listen to me when I give you instructions. And it's not there. A lot of students don't have a voice when it comes to dealing with adults. They're just told what to do. They're expected to do that, and that's it. If they step out of those lines or they color outside of those boxes, they're not doing what they're supposed to. And for an adult to say, what do you think? Or how are you handling this? Or what's going on with you? Or how are you doing? And then following up by showing up in some way, shooting them a message when you know they have a big test, or you know they're going through something, or they have tryouts for something, and saying, hey, praying for you, good luck. What? You remembered that I actually have that going on? It's such a huge impact for something that might seem so simple.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And it's a great example for how we should love everybody.
truth.
We should do that for everybody.
And
It's
if you-
personal.
Darn right.
Read that book.
And if you can't love everybody, love somebody that's in student ministry.
I thought you were going to say love nobody, and I was like,
Love no. If you can't love everybody, love nobody.
love nobody.
True.
All or nothing.
Yeah.
So, students, what now? What's your next step? What is spiritual growth? You know, for our own spiritual growth, it is actually very important for us to speak into other people.
Yeah.
That is a huge step in spiritual growth. Speaking into other people, making heroes of other people. And so if we just kind of like keep fixing ourselves, keep worrying about ourselves, we're going to run into a brick wall in our growth. And so this is as much as good for kids as it is for you. It really is. So who are you going to see? Who are you going to listen to? Who are you going to speak into? That is what our next step is. And get a name. Like, think of somebody specific. Don't just say, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to whatever. Think of somebody specific. Maybe they're related to you. Maybe it's somebody at church. Maybe it's somebody on your serve team. Whatever that is.
Yeah, and do it.
Take steps.
Just go for it. Just walk up to them and say,
Within boundaries.
I see you.
I see you.
And I'm listening to you.
And I'm listening
There
to
you go.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a student here and you don't have an adult doing that, you walk up to them and then, why don't you see me?
Yeah,
why aren't you listening to me? Shake your fist.
That'll go over really well. So, thank you for listening to What Now with Anna and Eric.
Thank you, Anna, for having me.
And we got to talk about Eric's favorite topic.
British
Second
baking
favorite
show.
topic. All the topics. We talked about basically everything. So that was great.
Oh,
I mean, I
hope you
think
enjoyed
Hip Hop
it.
Hippos is under fitness. So
Hip Hop Hippos.
yeah, that only makes sense.
I'm telling you what. I'm loving it. That should be a show on the Disney Plus app right there.
Followed by 6 months of darkness. Okay, we always
anyway.
take way too long to close out.
We do.
Figure out what
Just
your
do
next
it.
step is.
Hit
Tune
the
in
stop
next
button.
week. Read the book. It's personal.
Darn right.
I'll put that on social
Try the
media.
Bible.
Try the Bible. Don't just try it. Do it. And remember boundaries. And we are out.